I'm Blair, standing in the entrance of my family's beachfront home in Northern California, the cool ocean breeze tugging at my hair. This estate, a grand creation of glass and cedar, represents more than just a building. It's the realization of my father's vision, painstakingly constructed with his hard work and affection. Worth an incredible $30 million, it holds memories in every nook and cranny, like the kitchen where my mom taught me to bake, and the deck where my dad and I would watch sunsets, crafting stories about the waves. But today, as I step through the door, my husband Wesley's words slice through the nostalgia like a sharp blade. "This is ours now, Blair," he declares, his eyes gleaming with an emotion I can't quite decipher. "I made sure of it." I laugh, harsh and brittle, because there's no way he could be serious. This house, this legacy of my father, belongs to me alone. Wesley stands there, arms crossed, wearing a smug grin as though he's just won some hidden contest. A knot forms in my stomach, but I force it down, clutching the documents that affirm my ownership. Blair is the sole name on the deed. This is more than a house. It's everything my father worked for, everything I fought to protect. Growing up, I wasn't the typical kid you'd expect from a wealthy family. My parents, both sharp as tacks when it came to finance and real estate, taught me to prioritize people over possessions. Sure, we had money, but my allowance was smaller than that of my friends, and I went to public school in our coastal town, not some fancy private institution. My dad always told me, "Money doesn't define you, Blair. Your choices do." Those words stuck with me, especially when rumors spread at school. Kids would whisper about our mansion or beg to visit, imagining I lived like a movie star. I was only 12 when I realized how cruel those whispers could be. One night, my best friend Clara invited me to her house for a sleepover. We were playing video games when I accidentally knocked her console off the dresser, breaking the screen. My stomach dropped. I didn't have the money to replace it, and my parents had strict rules about lending cash. "You're rich, Blair," Clara accused, her voice sharp with betrayal. "Why don't you just buy me a new one?" I tried to explain, my face burning, but she wouldn't listen. By Monday, the school was abuzz with rumors about me. Blair, the wealthy girl who refused to help a friend. Even worse, Clara and Sophie teamed up to spread lies about me borrowing money from them and never paying it back. Suddenly, kids I barely knew were cornering me at lunch, calling me stingy. I felt like I was drowning in their words, too shy to defend myself. When my parents found out, my dad sat me down at dinner, his eyes kind but stern. "Blair, you don't owe anyone your money or trust. If someone pushes, just say you need to check with us. Protect what's yours." That night, he met with Clara and Sophie's parents, clearing my name. The girls mumbled apologies, but their smirks never went away. I kept my distance after that, learning early that wealth can make you a target. Those lessons stuck with me. At 42, I've built a life I'm proud of, working as a cybersecurity analyst at a fintech startup in San Francisco. It's not glamorous, but it's meaningful, protecting people's data, safeguarding their trust. My parents' values shape everything, from how I manage my paycheck to the friends I choose. I've always been cautious, perhaps too cautious, about letting people get close. But when I met Wesley, something felt different. Wesley entered my life 7 years ago, introduced by a colleague at a busy downtown bar. He was 41, a real estate agent with a quick laugh and eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He wasn't like the guys I'd dated before, too focused on my family's wealth. Wesley was warm, grounded, and seemed indifferent to my money. We spent hours talking that night, from our favorite hiking trails to our dreams of traveling the world. 2 years later, we got married in a small ceremony on a cliff near our town, my parents beaming as they welcomed him into our family. But even then, I held back a part of myself. I never told Wesley the full extent of my family's wealth. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I wanted him to love me for who I was, not for what I might inherit. When I brought him to the estate a month after our wedding, his jaw dropped. "Blair, this place is unreal," he said, wandering through the halls like a child at a museum. His awe was charming at first, but soon his questions about the house's value, my dad's investments, and things I didn't even know started to pile up. I brushed it off, attributing it to curiosity, but deep down a voice whispered, "Be careful." A few months later, I received a call from my mom that would change everything. Her voice was tight with worry. "Blair, it's your dad. He's in the hospital." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My dad, the man who jogged every morning and ate kale like it was a religion, had been hiding a persistent cough. I drove to the hospital with my mom, my mind replaying our last visit. He'd looked thinner, his laughter quieter, but I told myself it was just stress. Now sitting in the cold, sterile waiting room, I couldn't shake the fear that something was seriously wrong. The diagnosis hit like a tidal wave: lung cancer, advanced and too far gone for surgery. My dad, always so strong, tried to put on a smile. "I'm sorry for worrying you, kiddo," he said in a weak voice. I wanted to scream that he wasn't a burden, that he was everything to me. My mom and I took turns staying with him at the hospital, but visiting hours were brief, restricted to family. He hated that. One evening, his hand grasped mine and he said, "I want this house to be full of laughter again. Promise me you'll keep it alive, Blair." I nodded through tears, vowing to honor his wish. Back home, I dove into planning a renovation of the estate, imagining it as the warm, joyful place my dad always wanted. Wesley supported me at first, bringing me coffee while I sketched plans for a new patio. But then his questions about the house and my dad's health started to shift. "What's the plan for the house if you know?" he would ask, trailing off. I dodged, saying it was too soon to think about, but his persistence grew like a splinter that wouldn't leave. One night, he casually suggested, "We should talk to a lawyer just to be safe." My stomach churned. I remembered how Clara and Sophie's eyes lit up at the thought of my family's wealth. Was Wesley becoming like them? I shared my dad's illness with him, hoping it would bring us closer, but he kept returning to the topic of the estate, the will, even my mom's finances. "What if something happens to her too?" he asked. That question stung like a betrayal, reminding me of the kids at school who saw me as a walking ATM. I snapped. "This isn't about money, Wesley. It's about my dad." He backed off, but the distance between us only grew. Dad fought hard, but a few months later, he passed away. The loss was crushing, like the weight of the ocean pressing down on me. At the funeral, I stood by his casket, clutching my mom's hand, trying to hold on to the warmth of his presence. Wesley was there, quietly watching. I noticed him talking to my cousin, who made a careless remark about the estate being a waste while it sat empty. I pushed it aside, too raw to care. Later, as we stood in the driveway of the estate, Wesley dropped a bombshell. "I've changed the locks, Blair," he said, holding up a shiny new key. "This place is in my name now. I've got the papers to prove it." I laughed, sharp and disbelieving. "What are you talking about?" I demanded. He pulled out a folder, waving it like a trophy. "I took care of it. We're secure now." My heart raced as I grabbed the folder, my hands shaking. The documents looked official, but something felt off. My name wasn't on them. The ground seemed to shift beneath me. This wasn't just about a house. It was about trust. The man I'd married was someone I didn't recognize. "You can't do this," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "This house is mine. Dad left it to me." Wesley's smirk faltered, but he doubled down. "Blair, it's ours. I did this for us. You'll see." His words stung, and I knew I had to act fast. That night, I went through my dad's old files in the study, the room where he'd taught me how to balance a checkbook. In a locked drawer, I found the real documents, my name Blair clear on the deed, signed and notarized. Relief flooded me, but it was mixed with betrayal. How could Wesley, the man who'd promised to stand by me, try to steal my father's legacy? I called my mom, my voice cracking as I told her everything. "He's not getting away with this," she said, her tone fierce. "We'll fix it, Blair." The next morning, Wesley showed up, demanding the keys. "This is my house now," he said, his confidence unsettling. I held up the real deed. My hands were steady despite the storm inside. "You're wrong, Wesley. This is mine." He paled as he scanned the papers, but he didn't back down. "My lawyer, Marcus, handled everything," he insisted. "He's the best in the business." Hearing the name Marcus set off alarms in my mind. I'd heard whispers about him. A shady lawyer known for preying on vulnerable clients. I called security, the service my dad had insisted on for the estate. 2 guards arrived, and I showed them the deed, explaining Wesley's claim. They turned to him, asking for proof. Wesley fumbled, pulling out his forged documents, but the guards weren't fooled. "These don't match the county records," one said, checking his tablet. Wesley's bravado crumbled as he tried calling Marcus, only to reach voicemail. His voice grew frantic. "He took $200,000 from me." He swore this was legit. My heart sank, not for Wesley, but for the man I thought I'd married. He'd been scammed, but his greed had led us here. The guards escorted him off the property, his angry shouts echoing as he cursed Marcus and even me, calling me selfish for holding on to the estate. I stood there numb, the weight of reality settling in. My marriage was over. Wesley's betrayal wasn't just about the house. It was about trust, about the man I thought I knew. The life we once imagined together was no longer possible. I initiated the divorce the following week, with my mother by my side as we consulted with a legitimate lawyer, unlike Marcus, who had been nothing more than a fraud. The process was painful, but it offered me much-needed clarity. I realized I wasn't just fighting for a house, but for my own identity, the very values my father had taught me. After the divorce, I needed space, distance not just from Wesley, but from the painful memories tied to the estate. I moved into a modest apartment in town, letting the ocean breeze clear my mind. My mom and I began discussing my father's dream, to transform the estate into a place of joy, a sanctuary for others. One evening over coffee my mom said, "Let's make it a reality," her eyes shining with determination. I felt a spark of hope. The house, which had once been a symbol of grief, could now be something much more. We dedicated ourselves to turning the estate into a boutique inn, naming it Sunset Haven. I spent my weekends painting walls, planting gardens, and designing cozy rooms with views of the Pacific. My mom took charge of bookings, her warm personality attracting guests from across the country. By the time we opened, Sunset Haven was fully booked for months, hosting weddings, family reunions, and quiet retreats for couples. Every laugh, every clink of glasses on the patio felt like a tribute to my dad. It was as if I could hear him saying, "That's my girl." Meanwhile, Wesley's life had taken a nosedive. I heard from a mutual friend that he had lost his job and was drowning in debt due to Marcus' scam. At my father's first memorial at a local chapel, Wesley showed up uninvited, a shell of his former self, unshaven, eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. He attempted to apologize, tears streaming down his face, but his outburst disrupted the service and drew whispers from my relatives. I felt a flicker of pity, but his presence only reminded me of the betrayal. I calmly told him, "You need to leave," and security escorted him out. It hurt, but I was done carrying the weight of his mistakes. Sunset Haven became my salvation. Managing the inn with my mom brought us closer, helping us heal from the wounds of loss and betrayal. We added a small cafe, a fire pit for evening gatherings, and a garden where children could play. Guests raved about the inn's charm, leaving reviews that warmed my heart. "This place feels like home." I'd walk the grounds at dusk, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of pink and gold, feeling my dad's presence. His dream was alive, thriving. A few months after the opening of Sunset Haven, I was in the garden, the scent of lavender mixing with the salty air. A family was laughing nearby, their children chasing each other through the grass. I paused, my hands in the soil, feeling a surge of pride. This place, my father's dream, was now a sanctuary, a place where memories were made. The inn wasn't just a business. It was a promise fulfilled, a symbol of resilience and love. My mom joined me, her smile matching mine. "He'd be so proud," she said, squeezing my shoulder. I nodded, my throat tight, knowing she was right. The success of the inn exceeded our expectations. We expanded, adding a pool and an outdoor lounge where guests could enjoy wine under the stars. Couples exchanged vows on the cliffs. Families celebrated milestones, and travelers found peace in our quiet corners. Each booking felt like a step forward, a way to honor my dad's vision while building my own future. While the financial stability was a bonus, the real reward was seeing strangers become friends, their stories weaving into the fabric of Sunset Haven. I soon learned that Wesley had turned his life around. A friend told me he'd secured a steady job in Sacramento, managing a small real estate firm. He had learned from his mistakes, they said, and was trying to make amends. I no longer hated him. His journey was his own, and knowing he was finding his way brought me a quiet peace, a sign that we were both healing, even if our paths would never cross again. One evening, as I stood on the inn's deck, watching the ocean swallow the sun, I reflected on everything I had been through. The whispers at school, Wesley's betrayal, the weight of grief. Each challenge had shaped me into a stronger person, someone who could stand firm, just as my dad had taught me. Sunset Haven was more than just a place. It was proof that adversity could transform into something beautiful. I had lost a marriage, but I had gained a purpose, a legacy that would outlast me. To everyone who has followed this journey, thank you. You've been with me through heartbreak, betrayal, and the fight to reclaim my father's dream. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and join us, where every sunset tells a story of resilience, love, and new beginnings. Keep building your own dreams, and I'll meet you on the shore.